Okay. Good evening. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. Well, I hope everyone took the occasion of the last week to watch to see when self-righteousness came into play. Because if you did, it provided you with the opportunity to learn more about it. It seems to be a positive thing, but at the bottom line, it is vicious, it is demeaning, it is demoralizing to the one employing it. And if one pays close attention to the experience of it, it becomes perfectly obvious that it absolutely inhibits and is the absolute opposite of miracle-mindedness. The reason is that it is a statement that miracles can't happen. It is a statement that life is not fertile soil for miracles. It's fertile soil for inequity. It's fertile soil for sacrifice. It's fertile soil for the worst to come to pass. Self-righteousness only rears its head in the face of threat. It only rears its head in the face of what I'll call an overt expression or an overt event of inequity that puts the one who is going to use self-righteousness at a disadvantage, at a real disadvantage. Now, such a perception of being, such a perception of life, only happens to orphans. And it's always coupled with the unrighteous. Self-righteousness. I know you love to drop the word self from the front of righteousness. But I'm going to tell you something. Only orphans are interested in righteousness of any kind. Self-righteousness or pure righteousness. One who is awake doesn't conceptualize such a thing as righteousness and value it and revere it and nourish it and practice it. Righteousness is half of a conflicted pair, righteousness and unrighteousness. When you feel called upon to employ righteousness, it's because someone unrighteous is behaving in a way that's putting you to a real disadvantage, one in which actual harm can occur. Well, think about it. To whom can harm come? It can only seem to come to one who's forgotten his birthright. It can only seem to occur to an orphan. And yet none of you are orphans. If you want a miracle, you've got to abandon the idea that a miracle can't happen. And in order to abandon the idea that a miracle can't happen, you've got to abandon your employment of self-righteousness. You have to put down both sides of conflict. Now, I'm going to give you something new to be with during this coming week. It's a statement. God is in His holy place, and all is well. Again, God is in His holy place, and all is well. This is what orphans have forgotten. And when threat arises, and threat can be anything that causes you in your ego state of mind to be thrown for a curve, thrown off balance, the tendency, the knee-jerk response is to stand in opposition to it, to use force and willpower, to bring about equality, still within the orphanage, of course, and because everyone has forgotten that God is in His holy place and all is well, and therefore no real threat has occurred, it is essential to remember that there is a different arena in which to be, a larger arena than the orphanage. That is the only thing that will lay the groundwork for miracle-mindedness. The conviction that each of you has, and each of you does have it if you're employing self-righteousness, is that you are vulnerable, and if you don't stand up for yourself through the application of will, you will suffer actual damage, whether it's mental or psychological or physical. That conviction is what absolutely disallows for a miracle. Now, there's another aspect to self-righteousness, and that is that it is mesmeric. Once you get into a self-righteous mode, Your mind, when it determines that there is justification for fear, because there's actual threat, because you're actually vulnerable, your mind, coming to that conclusion, immediately calls into play in your body sensations that support it. Gripping in the solar plexus, tension, muscular tension. And you say, oh, yes, I'm feeling afraid. Fight or flight is what is called for. And you move right into it. And if you move into it, and you're not successful in equalizing things, your physical sensations will increase. Occupying other areas of your body. And you will be convinced that if it weren't for the unrighteous one who's causing you to be defended, you wouldn't be feeling this. You're feeling it, you say. You're feeling the physical sensations because your body's natural, instinctive intelligence is telling you a truth. And you get hooked into a self-fulfilling negative loop. That's what I mean by mesmerizing. And you build the case against yourself. But you know what you build it on? You build it on the sensation that has occurred because, first of all, you made a mental decision to be committed to the idea that you are actually immortal and that you are actually vulnerable, capable of experiencing irrevocable damage, or damage so severe that it will be very difficult to recover. And you are committed to that sense of inability to be whole. As long as you are committed to an inability to be whole, miracles cannot happen. That should be very clear and very easy to understand. And you, if you're going to get out of the trap when it occurs, if you're going to break free of the mesmerism, you're going to have to do something like remember that God is in His holy place and all is well. God is in His holy place, place of wholeness, place of infinite, all-inclusive presence as wholeness, which you cannot be outside of. God being in His holy place means that every aspect of your being is embraced by God being in His holy place. And therefore, if all is well because God is in His holy place, all is well for you. And the suggestion that you are vulnerable and susceptible to damage is not true, and you do not have to validate it, and you do not have to thereby start a mesmeric loop in which you get trapped until something finally happens where you come back into your right mind. Self-righteousness is not your friend. Self-righteousness has no benefit for you. As with any form of mesmerism, it narrows your attention down to a very fine point, excluding everything else, and in the absence of the perspective that whole vision provides, it becomes easy to believe lies, and to believe them so completely that you cannot see any way out of it. And therefore, it is justifiable to you to bring into play every ounce of force you can muster up to save yourself. While still being in the orphanage. And that's the key point. Okay, let's go to the book. The Vision of Christ. The ego, the orphan mindset, in other words, is trying to teach you how to gain the whole world and lose your own soul. It isn't that it's really teaching you how to lose your soul. The orphan mentality is a denial of soul itself. When you said, but Father, I'd rather see it my way, and you got a divorce, you abandoned your experience of your connection with your Father. And therefore, the essential, and I'm using the word essential there in the context of the word essence, the essential awareness of your inseparability from the whole, your inseparability from God, your inseparability from your brothers and sisters, your inseparability from every aspect of creation. You could say that your soul is your innate capacity to be consciously one with all. Recognizing all as inseparable from your identity, inseparable from your being, and you inseparable from all of it. When you said you'd rather see it your way, you'd rather make up the definitions. You abandoned that. And as long as you stay in the orphanage, you're in a constant state of denial of it. You're not letting it in. The Holy Spirit teaches that you cannot lose your soul, and there is no gain in the world, for of itself it profits nothing. Well, there is no world of itself. But that's the way you've defined it as an orphan. There's no world of itself. There's no independent universe. There's creation. And creation is inseparable from that which is being it forever. So, the Holy Spirit teaches that you cannot lose your soul, and there is no gain in the world, for of itself it profits nothing. To invest in something without profit is surely to impoverish yourself, and the overhead is high. not only is there no profit in the investment, but the cost to you is enormous. For this investment costs you the world's reality by denying yours, and gives you nothing in return. You could reverse this by your denying your reality, by saying, Father, I'd rather get a divorce and be an orphan. It costs you the world's reality. It costs you the experience of the reality of creation. When you deny your reality by claiming to be an independent authorizer, you lose the conscious experience of the world's reality as the kingdom of heaven. It's that simple. This investment costs you the world's reality by denying yours and gives you nothing in return. Except the nothing, the nothing that you get in return, you haven't had enough sense to realize is nothing. And you've decided to make something out of it by making up all kinds of definitions and mutual agreements. Now, you cannot sell your soul, but you can sell your awareness of it. You cannot change what you are, but you can ignore what you are. You cannot change what you are, but you can believe that you're something else. But you can't become something else. And that's the whole point. Because you can't become something else, you haven't become something else. And that's why you're still neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. Now, you cannot perceive your soul, but you will not know it while you perceive anything else as more valuable. Now, the reason you can't perceive your soul is because soul is not perceptible. It is not capable of being turned into a perception. Soul is a direct experience of the nature and substance of your being when you're not preoccupied with anything else. It's like you can say, I am a man, or I am a woman, or I am an attorney, or I'm a school teacher, or I'm a parent, or I'm old, or I am young. Those are all perceptions. But when you abandon perceptions that are always the result of thinking, and you go into the void, when you become still and go into the silence, in that silence there's one thing that you're perfectly aware of, even if you don't put words to it. You find that the experience of being means I am. That is not a perception. That's a knowing with a capital K. That is knowing. Likewise, you cannot perceive your soul, but you can know it in the absence of all thoughts and all other perceptions. You see, in the process of waking up, you have a tendency to think that enlightenment is going to give you new information, new strings of words that you can use to think about or think with or base your evaluations and judgments upon through intellectual processes. But when you take the time to still the thinking mind, to abandon the opinions and the theories, and all the unique little characteristics of your orphan mindset, and you move into the silence, you don't find yourself provided with bits of information. You find yourself provided with experiences that seem to you to be non-specific. And they only seem to be non-specific because there aren't any words breaking the experience down into bits and pieces that are definable and usable. And because it's little bits of and pieces of information that you have found to be of ultimate value to you, it seems like the non-specific experience of, let's say, peace and love and joy are not valuable and are not particularly meaningful. In other words, they're relatively useless. And so you don't hang out there very much, and you don't abide just paying attention to the experience of knowing that you're having. You don't pay attention as though what you're experiencing is for the first time a true experience of you, holding within all of its apparent non-specificity infinite, substantial, meaningful, and illuminating experiences of reality. You like little rests from the trials of the day, and so you'll meditate and enjoy a little bit of this peace and quiet. Oh yes, I'm worth 20 minutes a day, taking time out. I will justify setting everything aside for 20 minutes. After all, I've been told that it will reduce my blood pressure, and there will be other physical benefits from it. Therefore, I can afford not to attend to the emergencies and the real demands of my life, to have a little bit of quietness. But you have to justify it in your own mind, as though what you're doing is an aside to what's real, and irrelevant, and something irrelevant to the real demands of your day.